Live from Johannesburg over the next hour, an in-depth look at the big local, international and African stories that are shaping our world this evening. This is Tonight with Jane Dutton. Watch this.
I think if you don't mind, I'm going to please ask you to switch your camera off.
Media freedom under attack, live and in front of millions.
You want to defend freedom of speech you never fought for, and you don't defend freedom of speech.
The ANC's Jessie Duarte verbally abusing an eNCA reporter for asking a question she didn't like. The controversial candidate lists clearly a very sore point. To me, it seems a party under pressure, hitting the self-destruct button, and a visual reminder exactly what the ANC's high command really thinks of media freedom.
It was like a war zone, because we have seen those people who were shooting, chasing those victims who have died, and shoot them, because they were trying to run for their lives.
The epicenter of the latest taxi violence, an already deadly situation getting out of control in Hout Bay. The number of victims is on the increase across the country, all caught in the fight for roots and control. Why is taxi violence spiking? Is it something that can ever be stopped? Joyful tears and jubilant parents. Graduation celebrations at UKZN have captured the nation's heart. A roundup of the hottest stories on Checkpoint, an elaborate pension fund scam, the dodgy estate agent Adabesta, Forte students demanding change after our broadcast, and the challenges disabled children face when accessing quality education. In other news making headlines today, police have moved into a Carltonville community torn apart by violence. Two unions are at loggerheads over a protracted strike at nearby Sibayani Stillwater. The community, though, fed up with promises of peace, chased the police minister as well as the national commissioner from the area. The strike at SARS offices countrywide is over. Nahawu has followed the PSA in accepting an 8% wage increase, but the minority union is not entirely happy with the agreement and plans to continue fighting for some benefits. A notorious apartheid-era hitman is out on parole. Ferdy Barnard's been in Pretoria's Khosi Mampuru prison for more than 20 years after he was sentenced to life in 1998. Barnard was a member of the Defence Force's notorious Civil Cooperation Bureau hit squad.
I've never met anyone as arrogantly disposed as you are. And you want to defend freedom of speech you never fought for. And you don't defend freedom of speech because your particular TV station has decided the direction it will go on, as it did in 2016. You followed the DA slogan of vote for change. So what do you want us to do? To bow and scrape every time you walk into a room and call you my lord? So I am going to the Ombudsman. And yes, it is personal now.
It didn't matter that the lights were on and the cameras rolling. Jessie Duarte took this moment to verbally abuse a journalist for asking tough questions. What was the ANC Deputy Secretary General thinking when she chose to insult eNCA journalist Samekele Maseko? Duarte really brought the tense relationship between the media and the ruling party into sharp focus here. What does this mean for media in our democracy, and what kind of relationship should journalists have with politicians? Joining me to discuss this from Durban is political analyst Lukhona Mnguni, and director at Media Monitoring Africa, William Bird, is on the line. William Bird, well, firstly, welcome both of you. William Bird, I'm sure you were as shocked as the rest of us.
Yeah, certainly. You don't expect the ruling party to behave in such an unprofessional and undignified manner this close to elections. But then again, you know, the kind of stories that are doing damage to the ANC are coming thick and fast. But I think what we are seeing is a trend that, you know, the ANC seems to think it's okay and fair game to just malign any media house that they choose by making allegations that the eNCA is, you know, overtly against the ANC or the public broadcast is against them. You know, and it just sounds like they're spreading misinformation unless they're able to provide evidence of these things.
And does it work when they say that?
Well, no, I don't think so. I think what it does do is it undermines media's credibility and media freedom to that extent. It's certainly not a wise move. I think, you know, if they've got evidence, then they should present it. If they do actually have a valid claim against the media house, then that would be far more damaging than to go and make these allegations. But I think to do it in a personalized manner in a press conference like that, you know, it's profoundly unfortunate. And if it had been just that incident, you know, you can move on from these kinds of things. The worrying fact, I guess, is that we are seeing these kinds of attacks against media where, you know, it's a fairly persistent line that's being carried against media houses. And the trouble with political parties is they tend to be fairly short-sighted. They don't see that undermining media is undermining media freedom, if you know, especially if you're just doing it on the same basis as saying, well, they are against us. Unless you can provide evidence, you're undermining the same political system that you're relying on to get votes for on the 8th of May.
Lukhona, Mnguni, I mean, what do you think sparked that retort?
Well, good evening, Jane. I am not surprised at what happened this afternoon, particularly because of the individual involved. I think most senior media practitioners in this country who have interacted with Jessie Duarte long enough will tell you that at times she often comes across as very brash, as very impatient with the media, and at times a bit vengeful. She has a penchant for remembering some detail of things that might have happened or have been said about the ANC or herself that she didn't like, and she's quite confrontational with some journalists. And I witnessed some of this during the NASREC conference in December 2017. So I am not surprised that she had this outburst. It's just that she has managed for the longest time to do it privately to individuals in controlled spaces or telephonically, and now she has had an outburst that can be seen by the entire nation, because I'm not even sure if the question she found to be provoking was indeed anywhere near provoking. Definitely, knowing Samekele Maseko's work, nowhere near some of his hardest hitting questions either. I think it's a long thing that has been bubbling inside. She wanted to ventilate it out at some point and take a swipe at eNCA, but possibly at the media in general. The last point to make, Jane, is that there is a reason, though, that drives this frustration and bubbling anger inside people like Jessie Duarte. For the longest time, they are called upon to defend the indefensible. When you defend the indefensible for too long, you become irritated and impatient because you no longer know how to defend this indefensible thing. But you are still, because of your role, called upon to stand up for the good of the party, close ranks, and pretend that you do not have these rotten elements within your organization that compromise your political project. And she has been doing that for too long, and I think you start playing the victim and believing that it's the people that are attacking you and that you are not the genesis of the problem yourself.
Okay, now the ANC has responded. Let's take a look. They said that the African National Congress has noted the one-sided and biased story given by eNCA on the interaction between Mr. Samekele Maseko and the ANC Deputy Secretary General Jessie Duarte. At the beginning of the briefing, the DSG explained that she would only read the media statement, but if there are any questions outside the statement, these should be referred to the ANC acting national spokesperson. After DSG finished reading the media statement, eNCA reporter, Mr. Maseko, engaged in an unacceptable and unprofessional outburst. Now, this was put together by Jessie Duarte, which I don't know if that surprises you, William. She also says to that end, they've requested a meeting with the editorial team of eNCA and the South African National Editors Forum. How do you think that's going to play out, and what sort of legs does she have here?
try and resolve things amicably. But I guess, a lot of unpleasant things and unnecessary things have been said and allegations made. From having watched the 16-minute clip, it doesn't seem to be that the eNCA journalist was in any way being disrespectful, and certainly that kind of response doesn't seem to hold water. But again, this is why we have complaints mechanisms. There's the BCCSA and there's the CCC, because we're in the election period, and she should be encouraged to report that. If also they are of the view and they have evidence, as again I've said, that eNCA is clearly anti-ANC and clearly pushing a DA line, then they must take that to ICASA. To make that a kind of allegation otherwise is simply grossly irresponsible.
And Lukhona, she also says that, she reiterates her commitment to freedom of the media and editorial independence, which has been championed by the ANC for many years. Do you think she's right there? Are we just seeing it worsen because of what you said was, you're seeing a growing number of problems within the party?
Well, for some time now, the ANC has been struggling with, one, dissent, and two, being taken to task on some of its positions, as I said earlier, because they are defending the indefensible, trying to protect compromised individuals at all costs. And it's part of a bigger problem that the ANC faces. It can no longer renew as it hopes. It can no longer come out of the dungeon of anti-democratic tendencies, which are crucial to its existence at times. And I say dungeon of anti-democratic tendencies such as viewing a young journalist who is merely exercising his trade, viewing him as part of a broader agenda against the ANC, as though there is a mandate from eNCA to critically and overly attack the ANC.
Okay, Lukhona, so I'm going to jump in quickly because I just want to bring in the topic that sparked off the diatribe. Because tonight is the cut-off day for lodging objections to candidates on the list. And this is what she had to say about that controversial ANC list.
Natural justice must also be applied, where people's side of the story must be put before they are accused or judged in the court of public opinion only. Natural justice is an important element of our jurisprudence as well. And it cannot be right that people make statements that innocent until proven guilty is rubbish or nonsense. We won't accept that kind of emotive call. So what we've done is we have asked the Integrity Commission they now have, should by now, the chair of the Integrity Commission by now would have received a list of the 9 provincial legislatures as well as the National Assembly in its entirety.
So, Lukhona, basically she's saying that nothing's going to change as far as the list is concerned, right?
Again, that is unsurprising. I have problematized the role of the Integrity Commission in the ANC generally. It is used as a PR exercise. It has now debased disciplinary processes within the ANC. So people now are simply asked to step down. Nobody is taken to task whether they have brought the name of the party into disrepute, and they should be disciplined and face consequences such as suspension and expulsion from the party. So the Integrity Commission has become a sophisticated way of the ANC to keep people from within but brush the public with a sort of implementation of they are acting against malfeasance. They are not. They are just managing the public relations a dilemma that they are faced with. And of course, you will know the NEC at the end of the day takes a recommendation from the Integrity Commission and then decides to act. But it does seem in the NEC there is a lot of disagreement about what should happen to people who are highly implicated. And it's not everybody who has been mentioned, but those who have been implicated in a critical way, but repeatedly over the years, Jane. Okay. Those are the people that pose a problem. You might say, yes, it's the court of public opinion, but that is the court that is most important important when you go to elections, because the perceptions of the public and electorate influence how they vote in elections.
Good to talk to you, both of you, Lukhona Mnguni and William Bird. Still ahead, horrific scenes of taxi violence in Hout Bay, just weeks after we saw the same in Soweto. Another bloodbath has claimed countless lives over the years. What is fueling these deadly shootouts?